Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spellbound, a darker shade of black. Get your copy today at your favorite online bookseller. New York City is launching a new pilot program to provide migrants with debit cards to provide them with money to pay for groceries. New York City is launching a new pilot program to provide migrants with debit cards to provide them with money to pay for groceries.
City officials confirm a pilot program is being launched to provide certain migrants with prepaid debit cards. The one-time issued cards will be provided to an initial 500 families for use exclusively at grocery and convenience stores to ensure they're being used to purchase necessities like food, diapers, and hygiene products. Officials say the pilot program will save the city $7.2 million a year and allow people to purchase culturally appropriate food. City Hall calls the program a more cost-effective technology pilot program to distribute prepaid immediate response cards to asylum seekers to purchase food and baby supplies in lieu of the city's current system of providing non-perishable food boxes to migrant families staying in city hotels.
Now, according to reports, the city will be providing 500 families with prepaid debit cards in conjunction with Mobility Capital Finance. And according to those reports, these 500 families will be provided with these prepaid debit cards for them to use exclusively at bodegas, supermarkets, grocery, and convenience stores in New York City in an effort to try to save the city $7.2 million a year that they use to provide services for migrants. Because before this pilot program was put in place, the city was providing most of the migrants with actual food and baby supplies in non-perishable food boxes as they stayed in hotels, and they believed that this was a waste of money because a lot of the food was basically being thrown out by migrants who in some cases said that that food wasn't culturally appropriate or it was food that they didn't like, so the city was basically taking money and allegedly putting it in the trash. Now, according to the Mobility Capital Finance CEO, Woel Coxum, he says that the whole pilot program is all about expanding financial access to financial resources to individuals excluded from banking, such as asylum seekers, while helping the local economy. And they say it's an honor to be a part of the effort to welcome asylum seekers as they begin to plant roots in this country. And Sean says, as he's heard that statement from Mobility Capital Finance's CEO, Woel Coxum, a critical question: why can't you provide this kind of program to many of New York's homeless Americans? I mean, just like in Maine, where they're providing free housing to the migrants, why couldn't you provide this to American citizens who are homeless? I mean, we have a population before the migrant crisis that was instituted by New York Mayor Eric Adams in his virtue signal campaign. Despite Donald Trump, we had a large population of over 100,000 New Yorkers who could have benefited from such a program, but nobody wanted to implement this kind of program for New York's citizens who are homeless. And that's a real insult and slap in the face to New York's American citizens that nobody ever thought about looking to implement this kind of program, especially when you consider there are many of those homeless New Yorkers who are veterans who served this country. Nobody wants to go out here and get money to help our homeless and many of our veterans who served this country, but everybody can seem to find money to provide money to give debit cards to those who entered this country illegally. I mean, I find that to be quite disturbing, that we can go out here and enable individuals who entered this country illegally, breaking our laws, and we can go out here and find money to provide them to be able to go shopping at supermarkets, bodegas, and grocery and convenience stores to buy the things that they supposedly need to plant roots in this country. But the American citizens who were born and raised in this country and even fought and to protect this country, we cannot go out of our way to provide tangible resources for those people, and that really shows the hypocrisy of Eric Adams' administration in providing services for people. Because before the migrant crisis, Eric Adams couldn't find money for many of the homeless people out here who have been struggling. He couldn't find money for people like Jordan Neely, who were struggling for many years and out here on these streets. I mean, before Jordan Neely lost his life at the hands of Daniel Penny, he complained about not being able to get anything to eat. And I would like to believe if this type of program was in place and there were people from the Department of Homeless Services who could issue these debit cards to people like Jordan Neely, this could have possibly saved Jordan Neely's life. But he can find money for those who can enter this country illegally and give them a reward for breaking our laws as related to our federal borders, and go out here and basically tell those people who entered the country illegally they will be rewarded for committing crimes. But people who wound up homeless because they wound up either losing a job or possibly wound up in a situation where they wound up with serious issues as related to their life, where their life basically fell apart due to a personal tragedy, we can't find money for those individuals who have been in our system for many years. We can't find money tangible for those individuals, and that is the ultimate disrespect that Eric Adams' administration has shown most Americans, especially foundational Black Americans, who make up a good majority of the homeless population. Now, this is again another insult to foundational Black Americans being foisted on them by this black man who basically puts most of these illegals who entered the country illegally in front of Americans and saying, oh, I can provide tangibles for those who entered the country illegally, and I can give them a cash payment to go shopping at all of these bodegas, supermarkets, grocery stores, and convenience stores. But when it comes to the homeless population that is American born, you can't find anything for them. That's the major hypocrisy of the Adams administration, in that they have a mot in their eye. They look at the mot in other people's eyes as related to politics, but they don't see the plank in their own as related to how they're treating New York's homeless citizens. And that again just shows how little respect they have for the homeless here in New York, that you can find money for a migrant who came into this country illegally, but you can't find money for American citizens who have been struggling for years in the homeless system. You can't find money for Americans who have been struggling in that homeless system. You put them through a bureaucracy as related to them trying to get basic services, and those people who are American citizens, they're told that they don't get the debit card. No, they get provided with that food that is worse than school food at the lunch and in the school lunch, and they're told that they have to eat that food and basically get whatever the city gives them as related to in-kind donations. But the migrant, they can go out here, enter your country illegally, violate your border laws, and they're provided with cash payments, and they're provided with cash payments in the form of these debit cards. And that basically really just makes me shake my head, because these same people, when you start talking about reparations for slavery, Jim Crow, and current and ongoing discrimination and current and ongoing anti-Black racism, these same people will say they have no money for foundational Black Americans who have basically been forced into a second-class status through years of white supremacist policies on the right and the left. And we're told that we can't get any sort of cash payment in form of reparations. Oh, the government ain't got no money, but the government got money for all of these migrants who entered the country illegally that they can put on a debit card, basically virtual money. They can go find money for the migrant who, again, is not a citizen of this country, and this is supposed to provide them with financial resources because they're excluded from the banking system. Well, foundational Black Americans have been excluded from the banking system for decades through programs and policies like redlining. We haven't been allowed to be a part of the banking system due to redlining and also policies in the welfare state that told us that Black people on welfare could not own bank accounts, but the migrant, you want to give them access to the banking system, and that just shows how racist this policy is. I mean, this policy, again, is racist because you can tell Black people they can't have access to the banking system because of the redlining policies that are still in place. You can go out and tell Black people who were told they couldn't have bank accounts if they had welfare or their kids were on welfare cases, they couldn't have bank accounts. Moreover, if you had Section 8, you had to actually report if you had a bank account. But the migrant, they can go out here and have all of these things. And on top of having all of these things, as they get these debit cards, these migrants are allowed to work off the books and continue to have cash. I mean, basically, the migrant is being elevated to a higher economic status than the average everyday working American. And it's a middle finger thrown up at the average everyday working American who basically is struggling right now in an economy where we're told things are doing well, as our money and our tax dollars are spent on pilot programs like this for people who are not citizens. And on top of it, it's another insult to Americans because we have them spending money to give migrants access to the banking system while you are spending money to send overseas to countries like Israel and the Ukraine. Meanwhile, most Americans, we can't get anything tangible. And for most of us foundational Black Americans, we're told that, we can't give you reparations, but you can go out here and create pilot programs to give city tax dollars of foundational Black Americans to these people who are migrants. But you can't go out here and cut a check for most Americans like myself who have been out of a job market for over 15 years. You can't cut me a check for the over 2 decades that I have had to deal with the HR brick wall that kept me out of the job market and being able to make a living. But you'll go out and offer that migrant a job immediately, and you'll tell a foundational Black American like myself, what you'll tell me is that, I need you to work for free or volunteer because I want to figure out if you can work. Again, you ain't got that kind of talk for this migrant who entered the country illegally. No, when you go to the migrant, you're talking about money. You're giving them money. You're allowing them to be a part of the economy. And again, that's a disrespect to our American homeless population, just like in Maine, where they have built brand new housing to house migrants for the next 2 years rent-free. I mean, this is again disrespect directed at American citizens, and American citizens being told that they have to sit there and allow other people to get their money, and told, this is a benefit for you, when it's basically contempt expressed towards you. Because, as I'll repeat it once more, why couldn't we provide this to American citizens? Because American citizens who are homeless, they could have used this kind of money and this kind of help to get back up on their feet. But instead of looking to take care of our own, we have a bunch of infidels in politics and business expressing their contempt because they don't want to take care of our people, but want to provide and roll out a red carpet for all of those who entered this country illegally. And that is the ultimate form of disrespect provided to us by the cream of wheat man, who can treat people who are not citizens better than he can foundational Black Americans who make up a good chunk of the homeless population. And that is the ultimate disrespect to Black people and Black voters he can find debit cards for these migrants, but won't go look to provide them with an EBT card or a WIC card, which are a part of federal programs. And he can't provide them because, again, Biden administration would have to sign off on that. But this is, again, is not how you go out and treat your citizens. You don't put your citizens in a second best position, because when you make your citizens second class, it basically says that you have no respect for your citizens and you basically have no regard for their welfare. That's the message that's being sent here with these debit cards, in that they want the migrant to be able to have the economic freedom that most New Yorkers who are a part of welfare are not allowed, because with an American citizen, they are given an EBT card where they can't go shopping everywhere and they have limitations on their purchases. I mean, an American citizen who gets an EBT card can't buy hot food. An American citizen with an EBT card can't go out here and buy alcohol. But these migrants will be able to do this because the debit card won't have those restrictions. No, that's what's basically showing, again, more of the hypocrisy as related to this whole migrant crisis. And again, this migrant crisis basically shows that America can have tangibles for everybody but Americans. And this is a disrespect to foundational Black Americans, because while we're told we can't have reparations for paying us back for taking away our ability to make a living and be a part of the economy, we're told they can't cut a check for us, but they can go out and issue virtual money on debit cards for people who aren't citizens. And that is the ultimate form of disrespect directed at most of us brothers and sisters as related to this pilot program. Now, if you want to pick up some of my positive Black fiction on the SJS Direct imprint, like the ISIS series, the Esteem series, the John Haynes series, the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, my vampire novel Eternal Night, or my Black sorority novel The Thetas, you can find all of those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find those books at other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, Google Play, and Barnes & Noble. And if you'd like to see me make more videos about this migrant crisis, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, John Haynes, the man with nothing to lose. The man who rules the world runs into the irresistible force of a man with nothing to lose in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get the regular and variant editions of John Haynes, the man with nothing to lose, on Amazon.com today. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, Godbreaker. The man who rules the world takes on the Asgardian god of thunder in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes, Godbreaker in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.